20 years of experience, commercial photographer, professional award-winning wedding photographer. I wish I knew Anne when my daughter got married because I took the pictures back then, and at least I have the memories. You also do pet portraiture, and you specialize in that. And you've got an incredible website that we'll put in the chat. Your main focus now is nature and environmental photography, and I know you've worked with some groups in Georgia as a naturalist and done some articles for them with your photography. I'm going to put Anne's quote in the chat also. I'm sure she's going to read it to you or tell you about it because I think it's fantastic. We're so glad that we have you here, and we're so glad you're feeling better from the last time. This is our group. Most of the people here are from the Camera Club of Richmond. There are a lot of guests here, and we invite them to join the Camera Club of Richmond, of course. And we're going to turn the screen over to you and see if you can share with us. And Karen, you're going to go ahead and pin Anne, and we're going to begin, if that's okay with you.
I'll just add one more little tidbit that if you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat and we'll be monitoring those. And hopefully Anne will have a few minutes at the end where she'll be able to answer some of our questions.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm gonna get ready to show you the presentation. I switched it around a teeny bit since the one I was going to give before. This is a talk about just photo essays and how they came about. I was going to do some history, more of a history before, but I've just kind of changed it up a bit. And what we're going to cover is just a little short, teeny history and why photo essays are so important, and some of the elements that make up a photo essay, and there are different kinds of essays, and how words can be incorporated in an essay to make it more impactful, and a word or two about editing your pictures. And we're going to do an activity about editing pictures too. And then I'm going to give you a little spiel about our stream stories, which is a thing I've been doing with the Adopt a Stream. I don't know if you guys have a similar program. It's a bunch of citizen scientists, and we go out and we monitor the streams in the area, and just keep an eye on the streams and see how they're going. And this gives a lot of data for the like I'm in Cobb County, and they use that in use it when they're looking for problems in the stream and they're testing the stream, and they can check back, and it's a really neat program. But anyway, during the course of COVID, we couldn't do just some workshops, just getting together workshops. So we were like, we'll do a Zoom one. And it was kind of neat because we got people from the local area, but we also got some people from California and all over the place, Virginia. And so it made it really interesting. And it was a kind of a plus thing that we didn't expect to have. Anyway, let's get started. But we're going to have a review too. No tests. Okay, here is a very short history of documentary photography. Photo essays really evolved as the technology evolved. In the beginning, when you had daguerreotypes, it was just so involved and so fragile, so sensitive, and it took so long. There was no way you could really tell a story with people in it. It was just a new science, a new art form. It first started to be more, people used it in a photojournalistic sense or a journalistic sense. The very first is during the Crimean War in 1855. Roger Felton and Carol I cannot say her name, Samaria, they went out and documented the war, and the Illustrated London News picked it up, and were able to use the pictures because of another process following the daguerreotype, and let's see. It's the caliotype, and it was it enables you to have multiple prints instead of just one on one plate. Here's one of the first, they consider this kind of one of the first photos, journalistic photos. It's called The Shadow of Death, and I made a close-up of it because what it is all those little balls you see, those are all cannonballs. And keep in mind that before this period, nobody would really have a firsthand view of this except the soldiers. And here's one of Roger Fenton's associates, and that is their mobile darkroom. So it was no small feat to try to get pictures out in the war. Why are photo essays so important? It's because they have just this emotional impact. You can read signs, stop illegal dumping. You're like, okay, stop illegal dumping, but it doesn't hit your emotions. But if you have a picture, with a tire in the middle of just a nice bay, it gives you, it's more of a visceral effect, and it really impacts people more than just the facts and figures. This is, I've taken a couple of quotes out of here. This is by Millie Carr, and talking about can storytelling save wildlife? And it was on a National Geographic site. And what she's saying is, I'll read it to you in a nutshell. This means that stories can spotlight faults in a system while drawing attention to bright spots where positive change is either already happening or envisioned in the future. So it can give you what is happening now. And also she says that stories also bring communities to get together. It's the coherence and empathy that we're far more likely to understand another person's position when emotions and narratives are involved. And it's kind of being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes that really, that's where you get the compassion and just the emotion more than just reading the data and stuff. Okay, oops. Sorry. Okay, this next. Okay. This is this is why I changed it around. This photo really affected me. And it's from the war in Ukraine, and there's a podcast. The New York Times has a podcast called The Daily, and they interviewed the woman who took this picture. And when I saw this picture, it really set home. It's like, why is this not stopping the war right now? And it's a disturbing picture, but I thought it was important. So if anybody don't want to see it, there's like a few pictures. I'll tell you when to come back and look. But this is the picture, and it draws you in, and it's a horrific scene. And the reason, though, that it draws you in so much, it has a good composition. And there's the repeat of the yellow band, the yellow head, and the bit of yellow on the helmet. And then you've got repetition of the people. And I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but I want to show you why this is so impactful, and why this was impactful around the world. And this is a single photo, but this was in a piece in the New York Times I'm gonna go back to this in a second. That covered the whole story and gave you more details. And this is a little blurb from what the Lindsay Adorio, who took the picture, was saying. She said, I'm going to quote, I'm going to start from the second paragraph. She said, and then I looked at the luggage. The luggage had fallen in sync with their bodies like they were fleeing. It was almost vulgar the way that it was so pronounced, how innocent they were. And then I went around the side and took maybe 2 or 3 frames. And this is all happening very quickly because there are still shells coming in. Wow. And so then I went around the front and I could see their faces. And I remember gasping and thinking, it's a family because there's a woman and a man and 2 children. The mother looked almost like a child. She looked very young. Everyone looked like they were sleeping. And so I took a few more frames. And I thought to myself, we never show faces of the dead, but I am shooting this as a document of war. I have to do this. I have to take this photo. I felt guilty. And she continues on, but it was a hard decision for her to shoot this, but she felt that it was really important. And she went on. Here's the rest of some of the rest of the piece. But she went on and she talked to the victim's dad and husband, Sergey, and she apologized. She's like, I just felt it was important, and he felt that it was important too. And so he then made his own photo essay showing who his family was, and it really brings in that human element. And if you just read about it, it wouldn't have that same impact. The pictures are what give you that impact. And this is just a little, it shows a bit more of the story. And I wouldn't, totally call it a photo essay because there is a lot of text, but I feel like the pictures are what are pulling the story, where the power is of the story. The next one, I began to, after I saw that, I was really thinking, and I was like, that is why photo essays and photojournalism is so important. And I began thinking about in the past. And I began thinking about Emmett Till. And Emmett Till was this young man in 1955, and he was lynched because he was a black man, a boy. He was a kid, and he was lynched because there was something happened that was really innocent, and he I don't know, he catcalled a woman or something. Anyway, the husband and his friends went and lynched him. And Emmett Till's mother, Emmett's body was badly beaten, and Emmett Till's mother was like, they were saying, he looks so bad, we could have a closed casket and that sort of thing. And Emmett Till's mother was like, no, I want the world to see what happened to my son. And so she brought in, she invited, and I believe this picture was taken by him. I couldn't quite find exactly which ones were, by David Jackson. And he was from Jet Magazine. And it really opened people's eyes up to what had happened. And then there are a lot of other pictures, a lot of photo essays that followed, but I just wanted to put this one picture because this is enough to give you that idea. And once again, that is a very powerful image, and it's a very powerful image because of the composition. And you can see the gentleman's eyes are just penetrating right at you. And then you've got Emmett Till's mother right beside, and her glance down at her son's mutilated body tells the story, and it is powerful. And this is one of the things that got Rosa Parks to stay on that front of that bus. Then there's also, this is a great little video. It's only like 8 minutes. It's about the picture and how it changed and how important these pictures were in the civil rights movement. So if we could put that in the chat, it's right down at the bottom. That's where it is. It's a YouTube from time.com. Okay, now we're gonna change directions now, and we're gonna lighten up a little bit, because photojournalism, photo essays, photo stories can tell a story and be serious, but also with a lighter aspect. This is from a Life magazine. Life has got a great website with a bunch of their old stories. They were a magazine. There were a few Paris Match that would have a lot of photo essays. And it really kind of developed that style, and it was a great outlet for that style. And what this is an essay. It's from 1963. It's from a 5th grade class at Emerson School in Maywood, Illinois. And what happened was, during the 1960 eclipse, a lot of people damaged their eyes from looking directly at the sun. So the Emerson students, they avoided that, and they made sun scopes, these pinhole cameras, so they could watch the eclipse. And it was just really cool. And it's a fun little essay. I pulled a couple of pictures out so you can see. I mean, that's just a great shot. I mean, it's funny, and it draws you in. I mean, you've got this leading line, but you also are like, what are they doing? Because you don't see a bunch of kids with boxes on their heads every day. And then it goes in and it gives more details. We've got this young man making the little pinhole of the pinhole camera so the light can come through. We have the teacher. She's explaining the whole concept of how this sun scope is going to work. Here's a young man. He is demonstrating what they were doing. Were cutting holes in the boxes so they could stick their head in. And you could see a little piece of black tape above his head, and that was where the pinhole was coming through. And so he would go outside and he would be able to see the eclipse from his box, from the safety of his box, so he wouldn't damage his eyes. Here they all are. They're ready. They're taking their pinhole cameras out to see the eclipse. And so that's just kind of a fun thing, and it gives a good point. I mean, Life they said they had instructions of how to make your own pinhole camera so you could watch the eclipse too. It was just kind of a whole big thing, and they have a lot of different subjects, and there's a website with just tons and stuff. Here are a few of the. This is
Those
just
are fantastic pictures. The black and white.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
I mean, they've got cats. They have one on cats, the companions of life, and how the caribou came back to Maine, and we've got pandas, and we've also got, and this is, way back when, disturbing photographs show pollution in the Great Lakes before the Clean Water Act. So you've got a little bit of everything, and they don't just have. This one is so cute. These kids relive your childhood with a portrait with these photos of kids enjoying autumn leaves, and that's a really fun one to look at. It's just kind of brings you back to when you like to jump into the leaves when you're a kid. And they have a bunch of different subjects. They also have bits and biographies about some of the main photographers that they used, and that's quite interesting too. And it's life.com. And these are some the pictures, the main story. I mean, the caribou going back to Maine story, and the eclipse story, and the autumn leaves story, which those are some of my favorites. Also, we're going to go back in history a little bit, and we're going to talk about Eugene Smith's landmark photo essay. And this is kind of the start of the photo essay. This was done in 1948, and around about that time, this is the part I kind of cut out. You're getting, cameras that are lighter. You're getting flash photography, or you can light the scene. The exposures are faster, so you can do indoor work. You can get more of a story of people without them having to just sit there for 10 seconds perfectly still, which doesn't really give you a lot of insight into their characters and stuff. Well, this was a portrait of a country doctor, and they were trying to get more country doctors, instead of people finishing up their degrees and going into the big city. And it was an instant classic, and it really kind of promoted Smith's career and that sort of thing. And here are some of the photos. This is like the beginning, just giving you an overall view of the doctor. Here we have a lot of detail shots, showing people their x-rays, taping up some ribs.
Aww.
Talking about how he's on call all the time. He had to come in for this accident. This bottom left picture of the parents, watching all this is just really, it really kind of sends it home of the everyday life problems and accidents that happen, and this doctor is having to deal with it all the time. Some more, this kind of just really shows that he had to be kind of a very generalist. He's doing all sorts of things, fixing dislocated elbows and amputating legs and things that you would go to the hospital for now. But he covered about over a 400-mile area in Colorado, so it was very rural. And just talked about how involved he had to be in the community. And this one is the final picture, and I just love this. It's just it was after midnight. It was after a long evening, and it just his position, his kind of slumping over the tea, the cigarette, which in 48 was a thing. And that really, to me, just really sums up the whole article.
Wonderful photo
Now
essay.
I want to talk about parts of a photo story, photo essay. You'll see that I've used photo story sometimes, because a lot of these slides I used for a workshop for Cobb County when we were doing this workshop about how to take pictures of your stream and how to make stories about your local stream and that sort of thing. So photo essay sometimes kind of sounds kind of big and scary, and photo story sounds, simple and not as intimidating. So you want in your photo story, photo essay, you need a title picture, a single picture that sums up or has a key idea you're trying to illustrate. Like the shot in Ukraine. I mean, that summed it all up. And then the rest of those pictures they had were powerful images too, but they kind of showed you the background or overall what was going on. Detail pictures are very important because that gives you more of an intimate and personal view. Actions, that is, what's going on in the story, and the closing, just to sum up and to give conclusions. And I just looked at we're over time. Do you guys mind if we go a few more?
Yeah, we're good, Anne, no problem.
Okay. Yeah,
We will,
because when I
we will
included,
stay on, most of us will stay on as long as we can.
okay, when I included all those stuff, I think I talked more than I was originally talking.
No,
Anyway,
that's fine. This is very important. It's great.
so we'll continue, and I'll rush up a little bit. Think of your photos, story, your photo essay, kind of like a paragraph. You have that topic sentence, and you have all the supporting sentences in the middle, and you have a closing sentence. Here's a little photo essay I did for the blog. This is about my stream that I take care of and watch over. And I'll just read it to you. I monitor Poplar Creek's water quality for Cobb County. One of my neighbors who has the creek in her front yard alerted me to a change in the creek. The water was orange. So I've got a close up of the water. Orange is never a good color for a creek. I go in and I give a detail of, notice the silty color at the top of the photo. It's time to investigate, because that much silt is not natural. That is not a good sign for a stream. I had a picture of the action I was going to do. I headed upstream, and within a quarter of a mile, the water looked like it had a higher concentration of silt.
Wow.
And then I was making progress. I saw it where it definitely divided the silt side and the water side. And I really can't stand that pipe right there. But that's kind of what you have to do, is you have to have a balance, because that was where it was separating. It had nothing to do with a pipe, and it divides the picture and makes it not as good of a composition. But that's where it was happening. So, you need to keep that in mind, that balance. This is the pipe that was feeding the dirty water into Poplar Creek. I scrambled up a hillside, but came to railroad tracks in a fenced industrial area. And it seemed like this was a one-time event, because now the pipe was pretty dry. And then I'll follow it up with a summation. The Cobb County authorities always do a great job of coming out and checking on problems. So I called them and gave them the information I had gathered. They investigated, but they were unable to find the source because it was a one-time event. But the good part is that they have a record of this event. And so if it happens again, they'll have a head start on jumping on the problem. And these are the pictures again, and I just kind of labeled them as what they were in the story. Like, this is a topic picture, detail, more detail, just giving you more information about what I'm finding. This picture, I'm trying to portray that I'm going to go up the stream of what I'm going to do. It kind of tries to give you an idea of the action that's going to be taken. And then the findings in that pipe in the middle. And a conclusion. And the conclusion is a great place to revisit the main topic. And it's a great place for conclusion and possible outcomes or a call to action. In a photo essay, you build your images into a story. There are several types of essays, and this list right here is geared for people working on a stream, but it pertains to everything. Like, you've got a broad theme, like an endangered species in the U.S., pollution in Georgia streams, and then you've got a narrative theme. So there are kind of two broad categories of photo essay. And the narrative is a narrower look. It's a more personal look. The more focused it is, the more personal it tends to be. And like the one I just showed you, I mean, most people aren't going to be really concerned about that stream, but in our neighborhood, it was a concern. So it was a very narrative, very narrow, focused story. And these are some classic themes that people use in their photo stories. Time-related events, a specific time, a season of the year, changes over time, and this pertains to streams, but pertains to other things too. You can use your essay as a travel narrative, a trip down a section of your stream, you or a piece of litter or a leaf. You can be creative. The story of the leaf down the stream. The headwaters of your stream or the confluence of another stream. You can talk about events, specific events that'll happen every day, creek cleanups, floods, the trash dump, hatching of critters near your stream. It's really cool because you can see all the eggs from the frogs at a certain time of year, and I just like it. It's just neat to see that. And behind the scenes, the problem, the testing the stream, that point pollution source, zoning issues, what's happening with the stream as far as scientific data or anything, historical uses, or characteristics of something. A photo essay can be just how the light is hitting the stream, or a study of the ripples and pools of the stream. And so there's just a lot of things you can make as a topic for your photo essays. And then we've got more, just critters or the stream, the plants, the interactions of humans. Now we're going to go on to words. Now it's true that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but sometimes a few words will help set the scene. Ways to use words, like an opening paragraph that'll introduce the viewer to the story could be enough to give them the background. A closing paragraph, like I did for the that leak in my stream, I just summed it up. And then I also had some captions, and captions can really give the viewer a little more background and make it's a good relationship. Then sometimes you don't even need any. In a written story, the pictures are supporting what the story is saying, but in a photo essay or photo story, the written word is more of the supporting role. And here's a couple of just ways I've used, like this is just a caption. I mean, without this caption, you'd be like, well, what is that? And what it was it's when the sun popped out from behind the clouds, I was able to capture images of interesting patterns in the stream, and just all the reflections and just kind of the abstract designs that made. Here's another one. This is a Rottenwood Creek, and there's a little trail by it, and it goes under the highway, but it goes into some real natural parts. It's really neat because you've got the big city and a bit that you feel like you're out in nature. And so I did this introduction to it. The images from the Bob Callan Trail, this 3-mile paved trail, feels quite urban at times as it runs under roads and past office buildings, but it also offers a remote natural feel too. The trail parallels Rottenwood Creek to its confluence with the Chattahoochee River. And underneath some of the bridges and just some of the walls, some people had painted these great critters. I mean, they're just amazing designs. And it's just a fun little thing to add to your trail, your little hike. That's my husband, and I just love this little fox guy because that's the actual railing, and it's like he's sitting on it. I just thought that was brilliant.
That's cool.
Dorothea Lange has a really good quote about captions, this is what she said. She's, I'm working on the captions. This is not a simple clerical matter, but a process, for they should carry not only factual information, but also added clues to attitudes, relationships, and meanings. They are the connective tissue, and in explaining the function of the captions, as I am doing now, I believe we are extending our medium. And Dorothea Lange was the one who did all the pictures during the Depression for the Works program. Editing and sorting. This is Dorothea Lange's editing method. And I just thought that was really cool. Because, you know, she didn't have a computer. Luckily, she had a big whiteboard. And I really like working in Bridge for my editing. One couple of cool things, and Bridge is a free program, and it has a filter drop down, so you can kind of rate your pictures. You know, like you can do an edit and go, you know, give everything a number, and then get rid of all those, and then keep going. You can edit it. It has different stars and then colors and that sort of thing. But we're not going to go into much of editing. And what I did is they're going to send out, I guess Karen's going to send out a bit about how I edit. It's kind of a laborious process, but it works for me. And so I thought you might want to just take a look at that. We'll kind of skip over that. Oh wait, let me tell you about this though. This is what you want to do in your editing is you want to just eliminate the unwanted pictures. I mean, there's pictures that you know that are not going to work. I mean, they're blurry, something happens, your hands over the lens, you know, just things like that. You want to really identify your best shots, and then you want to also figure out the pictures that work best in your story, because sometimes your best shot is not really what your story is, you know, about. So just kind of be aware of that, and when you're editing, kind of be thoughtful of pictures that will share details and kind of connect the story, make the story flow. And then your order is very important too. The orders of your pictures. And this is a bit that you guys can read later on.
And Anne has sent this all to us, and we will attach it to this video, and Karen will send it out to you.
And a couple of points to remember, and this is, I already kind of touched this on it, that your strongest composed image may not fit in your story. Save it for another time, because there's this incredible urge to, you know, be like, this is the best picture I've ever taken. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, you know, use it somewhere else. A lot of times less is more. You know, sometimes having less images makes the story more powerful. Remember that some images, they may not be your strongest images, and they, especially standing alone. But sometimes these images are an important part to connect your story together and give those small details. And this is the kicker right here, is that you may need to include pictures that are not as strong as you'd like to tell your story. It's a balance, but like that pipe in the middle of that picture, I mean, it would not win any awards. I cringe when I see it, but I felt like I really needed to have that in there. And perhaps if I had been able to go back, I could have found a better angle, kind of something like that. But it was a moment in time, and I tried to show it the best way I could. And so you got to remember that you got to stay humble.
Okay, Anne.
All right,
Anne, before you start this, Sandy has a good question. How do you choose what to edit? Suppose you come back from a nature walk with 100 images. Are there any strategies?
Well, it depends on what you're going to use it for. If you've come back from your walk and you just, you don't have a specific topic in mind. You just want some cool pictures. What I do is just kind of get rid of the ones you don't like. I mean, you know, just the ones that are obvious, blurred, all that kind of stuff. And then go and just pick out the pictures that you like. And then have those in a file. And then look at them again. And then you'll notice that you like, you know, out of that batch, that initial batch of the pictures of your favorites, you'll find ones that are stronger and stronger. And if you are wanting to tell a certain story, then you have to, you know, you can do those initial couple edits like that. You know, get rid of the junk, pick your favorite pictures, and, you know, in the back of your head, your favorite pictures of that subject you're trying to tell. And a lot of times it's a good idea before you go out, if you're trying to do a certain subject, to do a little, I'll just show you. Just a little, you know, cartoon, you know, think of, you want to show the tree, you want to show the apple on the tree, you want to show, you know, just some ideas that would make the story flow. And you don't have to go by that. But it gives you an idea and it gets something in your head so you can be more focused. Does that make sense, right? The little cartoon layout?
I'm not sure if everybody saw. Could you hold it up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what, we'll take a picture of it and we'll have it in the video. But yes, it does make sense putting it in an order that you want it in.
And I'll dig up, I have a better example. I'll send it to you.
Okay, excellent.
Just, you know, just kind of that storyboard cartoon thing when you're trying to figure out what you want to see. But the most important thing though is you need to have an idea, but also you need to keep an open mind, because some of the coolest stuff is you're not gonna plan for it, you know, and it could even take your whole subject a slightly different turn, you know, it could be a more interesting turn on what you're trying to say in your photo story. So does that make sense? That's it. It's a hard thing. And what I do is after I throw out the ones that I know aren't any good, I don't throw out the ones that aren't my favorite, because I might need to come back and get something for a detail or something like that, something to connect it. So that's kind of how I go about it, and I hope that helps. It's just a hard process, and usually if I just trust my gut on those, that's why I like to kind of pull my favorite ones out. It's just a gut reaction. Just, oh, I like that, and then you can go, you know, back and edit more. But it's hard. It is subjective, and you might pick something else if you're in a different mood another day. So that's my spiel about that. Now what I've got, we're kind of finishing up here, and what I wanted to do is, here's some pictures, and you've got a handout that was sent to you when we first started, and it's of these pictures, and these pictures are of an iron pour at a local park. I'll go through them real quick. This is what it was this, they would sell you these little sand blocks, and you could engrave them, and then you would give them back, and this group would come and melt the iron and then pour it in, and you would come up with these little iron blocks. And hold on one sec.
It's really cool. Well, Anna has stepped away. We just want to let everybody know. In fact, I haven't told anybody yet, but we're going to have a photo story contest. You'll hear more about that. Yes, this is going to be a biggie. And Ann, we're going to send you everything. We're going to have a photo story contest that will be in our next newsletter for members of the club, and it will end with a big prize. Go ahead,
Oh,
Ann. Let me take you away from this. Is very
I can't wait to
interesting.
see that. I think that's gonna be
Are you
great.
asking Ann to judge it?
Oh, that would be phenomenal. Would you like to do that?
Would you do that?
Sure.
Excellent.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Excellent.
Anyway,
Wonderful.
I was just going to show you. This is the finished product, where the iron
fantastic.
comes
Wow.
into where you engraved it. But I've got a picture of that too, but it's easier to see it like that. This is Steve's. He followed this leaf, and it was kind of crazy because the shadow of it almost matches what he engraved or etched out. This is just a silhouette of somebody who is pouring part of the iron pour.
Oh, great job.
These are some kids looking for their piece of iron, piece of artwork after the fact. This was my sketch on the left, and this is the block after I've etched it out. Here are these pieces of all these, everybody's designs, and they're cooling. That red is that hot iron cooling. Then you've got somebody, they're pouring in to melt all the iron. And here they're pouring it into those little sand molds. And here's the finished products. And here's just a close-up of the iron coming out, the melted iron. This is a group of people working, and you can just see they're just covered in all of this protective gear. And this poor little picture, I had done this before, and right before I came on, I was counting all these that I'm going to use to show when we figure out what belongs where. And I realized that we had taken this one out because everybody thought we didn't need 2 pictures of people. And I just thought this was the easiest way to put it back in so it would be confusing. So my apologies for this little bitty rendering. All right. So what I would like, maybe let's take like 3 or 4 minutes. And if people want to, just what you could do is in the chat is write down the numbers of which pictures you think should go where, and the pictures that you think are necessary. They may not all be necessary, like that poor K picture already got kind of booted out. And I would like to hear, maybe a couple of people could just give me the numbers. I'll pull them out right here and tell us why you picked that. And I'll watch the clock. There you go. 4 minutes.
So what
Does
you
anybody
guys,
have any? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, what you're doing is basically taking these photos and putting them into a story in your mind in order, and then letting you know which order that you put them in.
Correct. Just to kind of, it's just an exercise to get your mind working and putting stories together, and what's important in the story. Where is your main topic? What are your supporting pictures? Oh, here we go. Let's see. Here's A. B and B. Yes. F. Where did J go? J,
H-A-D.
G, and H. Okay.
And it's a little like playing solitaire, isn't it?
I'm still working on the execution of this, but I always think it's very interesting what people come up with. Let's see if I can. There you. Let me bring it back a little bit. There you go. Can you guys see that?
Yes. If you
Who's
want to
was
see,
that?
if you want to see Anne's picture a little better, if you take your cursor and go over her picture and click on the three dots, if you pin her, you will be able to see her picture specifically. Karen, you did a great job with that.
Karen, is this
Yeah, I
yours?
thought I was incognito.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Explain why you picked what you picked.
Okay. And I see Susan Snyder is kind of along the same thought process, I believe, because she picked A first, and that's the design process. I did both A and D because there were two different ways to design. Then I went to the melting process, I think. Yeah, so kind of a close up and then a far out view. And then I think I threw L in there. Where's L?
Let's see, I think
Yeah, because that showed the workers doing what they were doing, and then the pouring, the cooling, the kids selecting, and then the finished product H being the finale.
oops. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Karen, you just did your first photo story.
How about that? Okay,
Yeah.
now I need to get busy with the camera.
I know, I know.
And just because of time, I'm gonna look after the fact and see what everybody picked. But let's continue on because I don't want to keep you guys from your dinners and rest times and everything. So I want to give a quick blurb about our stream stories, which is a blog that I started, and it's with it's kind of geared for adoption people, but really for anybody who has an interest in any kind of body of water. It's kind of, we were thinking more smaller bodies of water before, but I've got somebody who, counts manatees and during the springs, and they actually did it at the mouth of Crystal River. So anything, it's kind of like anything goes. It's kind of art. What we're trying to do. There's the start of the blog. It's for you to put your experiences, your interests, your personal reflections about water, about natural bodies of water, and anybody can enter. They're mainly photo essays now, but we kind of started a little haiku section, which is really fun because to me it was kind of like a word puzzle, because you had those five syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, and we paired it with a picture. And also, it's a lot less work. It's not as it's something that somebody can do when they have they have a bit of time. And it's just to bring awareness of natural bodies of water through art. and to provide a broader picture and awareness of the water around us, because a lot of times people really don't see the creeks and the streams and the little bits of nature that are right here in our neighborhoods. And also it provides a history and documentation of waters. Visit the blog. It's ourstreamstories.com. And just if we're doing a photo story or essay, 5 to 15 images to tell your story. And we talked about, the writing, if you want to write captions or not, or opening paragraph, closing paragraph. And if you want to participate, just email me. You can email me at ourstreamstories@gmail.com, or just Ledbetter at .com. Ledbetter@gmail.com. I'm sorry. And now that I know you guys are going to have a photo essay contest, I would love to maybe have some water stories and put them on the blog.
We live on the James River here, so we have a lot of competitions with water and some phenomenal photographers.
There we go. I thought.
And you did a great job of helping us understand how a story is made. And we're studying photojournalism, we're studying stories, and I think we're getting an idea of how to put it together. And if anybody's a teacher out there, this is a great way also to teach kids how to put stories together. And I think you're going to see a lot of really good art coming your way.
Well, I'm excited now. Yeah. You guys remember what we discussed. It was only a few minutes ago. So my final thoughts is thanks for spending your time with me. Any thoughts or questions, just let me know. I'm always trying to get a little better at this, because if it was great the first time, it would be boring the second time. Anyway,
I think you did a phenomenal job, and we thank you very much for taking your time and spending all this time with us. And we're very excited about the judging, because this is going to be neat. This is something that's different for our club and something that we'll have a lot of fun doing.
We really appreciate it. We're getting a lot of thank yous coming in from the chat. Everybody's
I see.
Yeah, everybody's appreciated it.
And thank you so very much. This will be recorded, and we do have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And we'll send it to you. And if you think it's great, we'll put it on our YouTube channel. It's just for our camera club, and they could watch it, especially those who've missed it.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, thank you
so much.
guys, and have a good evening.